it's important that you become who you want to be before somebody else tells you who you should be.
Thank you so much for your time today. The first message that we got from the PR team was, here it is, yet again. Does it feel like yet again, 25 years? This is some time now. This is no longer your first, second, or third record. Does this feel still unique and special to you? Or is this, here's another release, this is what we do, let's move on?
No, I mean both, I would say. But if it doesn't feel special when you release an album, maybe it's time for you to do something else, right? So for me, it's always super special. At the same time, there are always elements of releasing an album that will be same old, like recording drums and
and doing interviews.
Well, the good thing about doing interviews is that you get to debate about things that mean a lot for you. For me, it's also at the same time very paradoxical to talk about yourself, because I write mostly about myself. So it becomes somewhat tedious work, and you get super tired of yourself at the nighttime, and when your wife want to talk about you and your relationship or whatever.
Okay. You do say something that is super interesting, because we're obviously here to talk about A Heartless Portrait, the Orphean Testament, the new album coming out in May. Orpheus, you say, I write about myself, and you use stories as metaphors to express yourself. Orpheus, very interesting character in ancient mythology. Some might look at him as the right-hand man of Jonah and the Argonauts, but mostly known for pursuing or for love facing the fears of hell itself, whether or not he's successful at the end. So what draws you to that character?
Well, my interpretation of that story is somewhat more. How shall I put it? I consider him an egotistic bastard when he turns his head and lets his loved one go up in flames, right? So and then he wanders around playing sad music for the gods to cry to, right? So he's a bit of a egotistic bastard in my eyes, and maybe that's the shortcomings of that story that I'm referring to in connection to myself, or maybe in connection to humanity as in general. And I say that the Heartless Portrait part of the title of the album is referring to me and my stories of about myself since day one, really. So it's like pages out of a 30-year-long diary now, and I've always spoken about myself and now even more so. How I see that I don't fit into a world that's becoming more ruthless and more violent, and whatever else is there. All the shortcomings of humanity basically is what I'm writing about, and with myself as a main character, and that's what I have been doing. So hence the heartless part of the title.
Some of the things that you just said might help me understand those late night uncomfortable conversations with your wife, but we'll not go into that. One of the things that I just wanted to ask you straight away, the concept of the album is, as we get to expect from Evergrey at this point, but beautifully brought to art, let's say visual art in the cover art. This is something that came out truly special. I think one of my favorite artworks in your long career already. When you see a vision of music being translated so well into visual art, that must be very special too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's also I'm just grateful to be able to work with people that are able to translate my sort of inner dreams and ideas and visions for my inner eye and make them come true in either video, sonically, or also as art, of course. And I mean, this team of Evergrey, where we integrate great people, are growing, but we're also taking our good time to find the right ones. But Giannis Nakos is really, of course, one of them, and he understands me. He's very attentive, intuitive, and I never interfere with his art per se. I let him go, decide color schemes, and whatever, and then I just add elements to whatever I see.
Okay.
Wherever I see might be missing, or
Yeah.
no.
There are more artistic outlets for you than only Evergrey. You do a lot of things, but everything that you do always seems to come as the listener or as the viewer from a very personal and very genuine perspective. Is that a challenge, or is that refreshing to let somebody else then take basically the stab at that and transform? Is that hard to let go?
For sure, until they're proven worthy. But yes, absolutely. And I mean, in the beginning of such a relationship, it's a paid project, right? I pay somebody to do work. But when you're on like the 8th year, or like for Patric Ullaeus, who makes our videos, when we're on the 20th year of doing stuff together, it's more a collaboration of friendship, and where we trust each other to make the absolute best for the project Evergrey. But with that said, there's always going to be stuff that I want to alter or change, or and stuff like that. But yeah, it's all about also having trust, in each other, and we work with these people because we do trust them. Otherwise, I would be up 24 hours per day, and I'm done with that part of life.
This is, at the end of the day, musically and visually, a very dark album. Not that Evergrey has ever been afraid of embracing the darkness, maybe, or finding the beauty in darkness. I think it's too easy with an Evergrey album to go like, oh, this album, even for Evergrey, feels particularly dark at times. Oh, well, we just went through a 2-year pandemic with the world, which might have influenced that. I think that would be a too easy answer with Evergrey. Where do you feel, what was for you this album that main inspiration musically? Is it the stories that you want to tell and that translates itself into the music, and it's a darker story, therefore at times darker music, or are there other elements at play?
I mean, I think every album is sort of the timestamp from the time period where we wrote the album. That's inevitable for us, and that's why we have so much material in our computers. I mean, honestly, without exaggerating, probably like 100, 200 song ideas that we will never use, because every time we start to listen to them, they are old, right?
Right.
So for us, it's about writing music that is contemporary for us. It feels fresh to us, and then of course we are influenced by current world affairs and personal affairs and everything in between. With that said, yes, it's a dark album. For me, I haven't analyzed it to try to assess what it is yet, or I'm never doing that. But I've heard so many different takes on what kind of an album it is. It's a more energetic album. It's a more melodic album. It's a this or that. But I think that comes. It's in the eye of the beholder, or in the ear of the beholder. Really.
Yeah.
So I think whatever your mind. If you're a happy newlywed person, or whatever you wanna, or you just had a baby or whatever, and then you listen to this album, you're gonna find this album to be a remarkably energetic and uplifting one. So, and as you said, also dark music for me is not something that is oppressing. It's something that lifts me. And of course for many of our fans, it's the same.
Yeah. So basically, because I've kind of felt like, hey, there's some really dark elements in what you're saying, is that is just my inner depression of being.
It says a lot about you, dude.
I thought I was happy.
Maybe you should see someone about that. No, but I mean, of course, it's not based on running over grass fields with the flowers. So I mean, that's
for sure.
and that's not where humanity is today. I see a ruthless future, unfortunately, if we don't wake up and start sort of taking back what is, true human morals and standards and values, and start to integrate them into our lives. And I mean, one of the biggest sort of, if I have a mission on this album, and I think I do, it's to make the young people who have not had a chance to criticize media or information, to say to them that it's important that you become who you want to be before somebody else tells you who you should be, and that's what all of these medias does today. They do that all the time.
Yeah,
they give you influencers, they give you stuff that you shall buy, and I mean, it's not like a young person today listen to any politician. So
yeah.
And I'm not saying that they are anything better, but make sure who you are, so you can be certain when to say, no, this is not me.
Evergrey is not afraid to evolve and try new things. What are the lines for you do not cross? Like we saw quite recently your latest collaboration with Vikram for Silent Skies, for example. Different music. I mean, maybe a similar story, but
Sure.
translate into different music. For you, after 25 years and having the career that you've had, and getting from Napalm I'm sure the means and respect that you deserve, are there still lines that you go like, you know what, this I cannot cross for Evergrey? This has to be a different project? Or at this point, does anything go?
I mean, I would say that this box is fairly big in terms of where the boundaries go, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't integrate like electronic elements for a full song, for instance. Because Evergrey deserves respect, and by that I mean that we need to respect the listener too. I mean, we're doing music to satisfy ourselves, but let's be fair that we have a decent amount of people that listen and buy our stuff. So for us, it's also important for them to know that when they buy an Evergrey album, it's not gonna sound like Scooter, right?
Right.
So that would be weird. But and with that said, I'm loving all types of music, and I'm painting with other colors in Silent Skies, but with the same brush, basically. So
yeah, exactly.
It's no, there's a lot we can do in Evergrey, and that's why it's so awesome to be in this band too.
You have both a new album and you have lots of relative recent music. Let's call it not brand new, but you have lots of recent music that a lot of listeners haven't had the chance yet to see you play live. At the same time, you've got this milestone of 25 years, and you might want to do some special things with that as well. Does that mean that you are already spending late nights trying to figure out what do future Evergrey shows look like? Are you going to predominantly support the new album, or are you going to take this moment in time to kind of celebrate that larger milestone?
I mean, first of all, it's 30 years next year, actually. So
there you go.
I remember we did the first demo in 1993, so it's just that is mind-boggling, and that on its own deserves a lot of respect, I think.
Yes.
Even from us, because I mean, when I was 21, I thought I would make, if I would have made 5 albums, thinking about it, then I would have been very proud and sort of settled. I think that's where my mind was, at least,
Okay.
But then, of course, life changes, and you do more and more things. And now we're on album 13, and album 12 was our biggest commercial success so far. And I'm just grateful for being here, making music that counts and that people feel and count on. That's all I'm here for, and I'm not the guy to sort of. I mean, of course, we should do something. 30 years is 30 years. It's ridiculous amount of time. So we need to compile something. Maybe all of those 200 songs that we will never use, we should put them out one by one. Sell them for 100 euros each.
And just like one NFT copy per fan.
Exactly. But I mean, live show wise, I mean, of course, we have to pay respect to. It's a lot of respect to pay, I feel. Yeah. But I mean, as I said, the last album was our biggest album so far, but our peak has started to sort of come from 2014 and onwards. Yeah. So that means that our 65 to 70% of our fan base come from 2014 and forward, which means we have a lot of time before that where people never even heard the songs. Then we have a lot of fans that heard the songs, but they are still here and still loving the new stuff as well. So that's our biggest privilege, to be able to maintain the fan base that we have had through all of these years. And now they're bringing their kids and second and third wives into the concert halls and vice versa, of course. I mean, we're gonna be concentrating on the last 5 albums for sure, and for the last 2 albums definitely.
Do you regularly take a step back and go like, it's really not that normal for a band with your career to be riding that wave right now? Because a lot of fans will be like, hey, the first 3 albums, that's what I want to hear, that's all I care about. With you guys, you said with Escape of the Phoenix, that has been that pinnacle. There's a couple of other bands, Orpheus is going through similar waves right now, where probably in the late 90s people thought like, oh, this band is never gonna do better than what they're doing right now. How describe that feeling for me as an artist? That must be pretty special, or are you trying to stay away from all of that and those pressures?
I mean, I'm not trying to consciously stay away from that, but it's something that we are very proud of. We are here. We're, as I said before, it is something to be proud of.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, the only aim we have had throughout our whole career is, no matter what the constellation has been in the band, we have always tried to write a better song than the last. That's it. And if we do that, then we're sort of keeping ourselves happy. And if we do that, then that sort of reflects back in the albums, hopefully. And that's how it feels. And it also feels like we went through some transformation somehow that we haven't understood, but all of a sudden the world understands Evergrey. It's like, fucking, you got it now. What the hell happened? We didn't change, so something happened. But I mean, I guess it's a multitude of factors that play into this. But I don't know. It's great to be in Evergrey today. Yes. Evergrey. Yeah.
Evergrey. There you go. A lot of great things to look out for, and yes, I can't wait for that special deluxe 30-year anniversary box with 100+ songs. One thing that I kind of keep my fingers crossed for is to see that Evergrey tour with the surprise opener of yourself and Vikram on piano, or maybe that
would be a long ass day.
or that hidden show in the dark bar, like
I'd rather do that then.
To break up the tour once in a while. But a really cool new album coming out, best looking album, one of the best sounding albums coming out in your long career. Tom, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and I know that you'll have lots of these conversations to do, and I hope that they will continue to be fun and exciting for you as we are counting down the days for A Heartless Portrait, the Orphean Testament. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best in the...
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.